Okay, so ladies, good evening, and thank you very much for accepting to join in this discussion this evening. And my name is Chafak Almighty, and I'm holding this COVID-19 discussion with the Cameroonian community on behalf of Nottingham Equal and Mujatu Foundation. And we are living in really unprecedented times where things change within a split second, and it's affected everybody, and none of us expected things to get to this extent. None of us thought we'll still be in lockdown till now. And none of us thought that we're going to experience the kind of damages we've experienced so far and which we may continue experiencing. And it is important that we're able to have this conversation, because this conversation will be around the effects of COVID-19 on the Cameroonian community, especially on the Cameroonian under 30 community. This conversation is particular to this age group. And what are the needs of the Cameroonian under 30 community in Nottingham as far as COVID-19 is concerned? We are very aware that COVID-19 has hit us in different ways as individuals and as communities. And there is no one size fits all as far as solutions or effects of COVID-19 is concerned. And as I was saying, it is important that we're able to have these discussions. And thank you very much for agreeing to be the voices of young Cameroonians in Nottingham, so we can know to what extent COVID-19 has affected us and the possible solutions that we could present in order to improve on the current situation, and the solutions that we could have for a post-recovery plan after COVID-19. So we're going to begin straight away. We're really, really sorry for the late start. We'll begin straight away by doing individual presentations. So I'll begin with myself. My name is Chafak Almighty. I am Cameroonian. I live in Nottingham. I'm a PhD candidate in Nottingham. My research is around the prevention of heart diseases. So I'm actually looking at how the places in which people live and work in Nottingham do influence the understanding of heart health, and how this in turn affects knowledge translation for the prevention of heart diseases in Nottingham. And yeah, and I live in Nottingham. I volunteer on Mujatu Foundation. That's a bit about me. So we'll move to Ruth. Ruth, please tell us about yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ruth B1. I'm an undergraduate student living in Nottingham. I'm a Cameroonian too.
Okay, that's fine. What do you study, Ruth?
I'm studying nutrition. I'm actually in my final year. So yeah, I'm currently working on my dissertation.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much. I encourage your dissertation.
Thank you.
Anna, over to you.
My name is Hannah Mbiwan, and I am a research scientist based here in Nottingham. And I'm a Cameroonian as well, and I'm happy to be here.
Okay, then. Thank you very much. I think I would think the fourth person who has joined us this evening. Good evening and welcome to the discussion. Please introduce yourself.
I am John Peters Kajobamu from Cameroon. I'm a Cameroonian, presently now in the UK, in Nottingham. I am into care as of now, and I'm happy being here.
Okay, then. Thank you very much, Kaja, for joining us. We're all very welcome. And just as you are joining, we're talking about what this discussion is about, and we're going to be talking about the effects of COVID-19 on the under 30 community and the under 30 Cameroonian community in Nottingham, as well as the needs of this community within the context of COVID-19. So this discussion will be around our experiences of COVID-19 and some of the difficulties we've had, some of the challenges, and what we think can be done in order to support us as a Cameroonian community in these COVID times. So our discussions will center around issues like assessing food and other household items, assessing health services, mental health and well-being issues, jobs and employment, housing and homelessness, support for older people, domestic violence, family relationships, women and girls issues, loneliness and disengagement, support of disabled and vulnerable groups, digital access and skills, and access to cultural and spiritual support, that's language and religious, due to the lockdown. So we'll look at some of these issues and look at areas where we think that we need that support should be contextualized to the Cameroonian communities, and equally look at how the context of COVID-19 has affected us as individuals that we are and as a Cameroonian community. So we'll begin by just talking about COVID-19. And as Cameroonians, I'm sure many of us would have heard a lot of theories around COVID-19, with some people completely discounting the fact that it actually exists. What are your thoughts? We can talk in any order, to be honest, because this is a discussion and it's important that we're able to talk among ourselves and share our views.
So I believe COVID-19 is a real, um, probably because of the family members that have been affected by it. And I know several other people who have been affected by COVID-19. So it's definitely not a conspiracy theory.
Okay, so because it has hit very close to home, you do believe that it's a reality, it's no myth,
Yeah.
as other people would have it.
Yeah.
I mean, you only have to look at the media and see the number of people dying. Who would make up that number? Who would make up those numbers? I mean, I'm sorry, but I really, I think this is one of the reasons why, like, for me, I'm just a bit annoyed, because yes, I work in research, and for people to discredit and be like, oh, there's not such a thing. It's like, okay, so you're telling me that my work is pointless, but you still want there to be science. It's like you cannot just pick and choose what you believe in science and what you don't. Like it doesn't work like that. So I don't know. Personally, to anyone who believes in conspiracy theories that it doesn't work, maybe they should give them the virus and then we'll see whether they still believe it doesn't work or not. I'm sorry, I'm just being blatantly honest. Like it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I hope I didn't offend anyone, but I'm just saying. Just because in places like back in Cameroon as well, where people are going on like normal, and I really think it's the grace of God. But whereas we're here in the UK, people are dying left, right, and center. And I mean, this new strain is a bit more infectious, so whoever is saying like, it doesn't exist, the government is just trying to wipe people out. I mean, if they did want to wipe people out, I'm sure they would have found a more efficient way to do so a long time ago. Just saying. But that's just me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's.
I get your. I get your frustration as a researcher myself. I understand your frustration, but again, like you said, we cannot discount the fact that there are people who actually think this is a whole setup, and it's a bit disturbing when we look at the numbers of people dying, of people getting infected, and even people who have had very close relatives and friends being hit by the COVID-19. And to think that, science a lot of work has been done scientifically to be able to prove this, to come up with a vaccine, etc., etc. You could have mentioned a very important point about the mentality or the mentality of those back home. We cannot deny the fact that the contexts are different. Mm-hmm. In Cameroon, there is COVID-19. However, the difference is wide because the number of people infected, the number of deaths infected, the number of deaths due to COVID-19 is not the same thing. It pales in comparison to that in the UK, but that does not eliminate the fact that there is COVID-19 in Cameroon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it is annoying, but we have to recognize that there are people within our communities, even in the UK, who do think this is just one whole big myth or just a whole drama being put up by the government.
I mean, I'd be interested to hear what like those specific conspiracy theories are, because like I've heard a fair share of things, like about the vaccine as well, where it changes your sex, and if you want to revert back to your original sex, that's why you get a booster shot. I mean, wow, that was probably the funniest one. No offense to anyone, but
Yeah, it's interesting how people come up with conspiracy theories and succeed to convince even the most I would say the most right thinking people among us.
Yeah.
With all the information which is available on the internet, and with all the tools we have to be able to discern the right information from the wrong information at every given point in time. It is interesting, but again, I think it's equally a call for us as researchers and as pro-vaxxers to maybe re-strategize on how we communicate around the ultimate importance of vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
Probably these are issues we should think about, and it should be a call to action or a wake-up call for us to be able to review the work that has been done over the years as far as communication around vaccines is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what I would like to contribute on this is the fact that many people really doubt that COVID do exist. Even me at some point, I thought it was some sort of a setup. But coming to the UK, I really found out that it was reality. I think people back home, they really have to question this because when they talk about the COVID virus, they say what really causes it. There are things like maybe you interacting with people, you have transaction with them through their hand. In fact, totally hygiene is because of maybe they are not really hygienic. But when you look back home, the Western world is being affected with this COVID more than the black race. Meanwhile, they are the ones who are really following the precautions, like here in the UK, they're really following the precautions like face masks, hand sanitizers everywhere. But back home, in like in Cameroon, I can say nearly everyone has forgotten about the precautions like using hand sanitizers, face masks. But the question now they ask is, why is it that when it comes to like those that are being infected, and those that are dying every day, why is it that it comes from the Western world instead? So that's some of the point that make them to believe that it's some sort of a setup.
That's quite interesting, to be honest. Again, right now, there has been no clear given reasons, no scientifically proven facts stating why the infection rates are different in Africa and in Europe. The only reasons which are being given are just, uh, um, are just, are just, I would say it's just guesswork. And in sense, we cannot afford to guess. We
Mm,
need to have evidence which is empirical, which is proven, which has been tested and proven. There
mm,
is a theory of Africa having of having a younger population. There is a climate. There is the fact that there are authentic forms of medicine like herbs and other tree barks that we do consume back in Africa, which have made us better, which has strengthened our immunity. There is the fact that we've had other pandemics and other diseases which may have strengthened our immunity as well. But that's just some form of guesswork. It has not been empirically proven, and until it is, we can't only guess and assume.
Yeah, and like you said, to be honest, when I was thinking of conspiracy theories, I was thinking of more people here in the UK just saying it's a hoax and stuff, and not necessarily talking about people back in Cameroon, because I do recognize that it's a completely different scenario. Like there's hardly anything happening there, whereas it's all happening here. But then having spoken to a number of people, and people saying, oh, okay, is it like targeting mostly Black people? Because, it seems apparently like more Black people are also dying from the pandemic compared to like Caucasians and whatnot, and other like, well, compared to most other like minorities here in the UK. And in talking to other people, some people are saying how, when you compare the UK to a place like in Cameroon, there's a lot of absolute poverty, whereas here there's relative poverty. And so a lot of the standards of living here in the UK, even for someone who is poor, are much better than the standards of living back in Cameroon. And so even when you compare things, like obviously like a lot of the immunity that you would have gained when you were back home, when you come here, you would have lost it, because now you have more access to a bunch of other things like healthcare and living conditions, and so it's a bit different. So it seems that those people who it seems like you would actually be worse off than someone who has lived here all their life, because, you know, all that immunity or all those antibodies or whatnot that you would have built have been shed away. And then it means that you're more predisposed to catching newer things. So there's that theory as well. And I mean, yeah, that's still, again, that's just a hypothesis. It's just a theory, and nothing has been tangibly proven, but it sort of makes sense. It's just, I don't want anyone to quote me and say she said that. I'm just saying, like, it seems like that could be a possibility, but again, right now it's all just a theory.
Yeah, you're right. What we have right now are just hypotheses which remain to be proven, and until they're proven or disproven, they remain what they are right now, hypotheses. And now, how do the thoughts around COVID-19 in Cameroon affect us as Cameroonians in Nottingham?
Yeah, it makes you homesick. Wish you were back home. No, serious.
Okay, that's
Like,
interesting.
I've watched so many people have gotten married, yeah. And when you see people at the weddings sitting like sardines next to each other, like not even a care in the world, the first thing I think in my head is not even like, wow, that's an amazing wedding. I'm thinking, where are the face masks? Where are all of these things, you know? And I don't know. For me, I'm just like, okay, I guess, you know, because the cases are not as high and stuff, like I can't help but think, because of the current climate, that's the first thing on my mind. If someone comes to talk to me, like even here, and I'm not even listening to what they're saying, I'm like, where's your face mask? Like, why are you standing that close to me? I'm not even like wondering what it is that they want to tell me. I'm just like, you're not standing 2 meters away from me. So obviously that mindset translates. So when you see an event, whether it's live or not, and you're just like, wow, there's so many people, the first thing that hits you is, oh, you know, I miss that. I've forgotten what it's like to interact, to socialize. I mean, I was just like telling my colleague today, I was like, I feel like I've lost all my socializing skills. You know, when I get let back into the world, you know, am I going to know what to do? But obviously, you know, I am going to know what to do. It's just that regret, you know, like places like in Sydney, Australia. I mean, it's almost like there's no COVID because they're having concerts. People are lining up to go to a concert, whereas here in the UK, we're still lining up to go to Tesco. I mean, it doesn't make sense, but so that's what I'm saying. It fills me with a tinge of sadness more than anything that the situation here in the UK is still quite dire. So when I see it, like, although I'm happy that, wow, I'm celebrating with that person, I'm also like, okay, I'm not at that stage. We're not at that stage yet as a country. So
fair enough. I see the relationship, and one other thing I pick from your train of thoughts is the fact that there is that perpetual fear of being infected. So each time anybody's around you, the first thing you're thinking of is, oh, okay, are we respecting the preventive measures here? Are you keeping your distance? Are you wearing a face mask? And that could actually interrupt the flow of communication between you and that person.
Yeah.
Because rather than understanding what they are saying, you're busy thinking of the risk you are running if they are not respecting the barrier measures.
I mean, a perfect example is today I got into the taxi and I had my face mask on and I rolled down the window and the driver was like, oh, why are you opening the window? It's so cold. I was like, because we're in the pandemic and we're in a closed space and I don't want to be breathing your air as well. So, and he was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And then he put his face mask on. But I was just like, I mean, nothing would have probably happened. But at the same time, I was going to be in the space with him for 20 minutes or so, and we don't live in the same household, and I'm probably not going to see him again after this. So automatically I was thinking, well, there needs to be ventilation because, you know, but it's just something like, I mean, I said hi, but after that I was kind of like, the less we talk the better, because we're in a small space and like literally it's just a nice like nesting spot for anything to, you know, happen.
To happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ruth, what is your
yeah, I was just thinking back. So my parents attend a lot of ceremonies because of the nature of their jobs, and my mom is a nurse. And often when they send us videos and things, we'll be wondering, where are their face masks? And, ask them. And especially to my mom, she's a nurse, and obviously she believes COVID-19 is a real thing. And then she'd be trying to explain how, oh, the masks are in the bags. It's just, if they wear them, it's just her and my dad at the ceremony wearing a mask. And so it's very strange for everyone else. Like, it just doesn't seem right.
It
And
doesn't seem right.
yeah,
And how does it
from
affect
our
you
eyes,
being in Nottingham and seeing that? How does it affect you?
I'm worried, especially
Yeah.
when I see them, on pictures not wearing masks. I'm thinking, are they actually, following the whole hygiene and the face mask? And I'm thinking, they're not young. They could be at risk of
Mm,
getting it. But then I think too, they're in a different environment and they're not in the same situation as we are here in the UK.
mm,
So
Okay.
yes, it does worry me a lot. And the times where I think, if it was to be the reverse, that they were the ones suffering from a worse COVID-19 pandemic, would the country be able to cope with the
yeah,
health
exactly.
services and things? Yeah, that really freaks me out. So I'm thankful that is not the case.
Mm,
Yeah, I understand. It's sometimes it's a bit worrisome, and like Hannah says, it makes you feel homesick and makes you miss the days when you could socialize.
Yeah.
So, Kaja, tell us how does it feel? Do you think when you think of the conspiracy theories back home and some of them even in Nottingham, do you think it affects you right now in Nottingham?
Actually, I would say I really feel bad looking at this COVID-19 as a whole. As a whole, I really feel bad. When we talk about Cameroon, I would really say it's just like God is just really, yeah. What I'm saying is, back in Cameroon, I think God is really having a special eye on them because when you look at the activities they carry there, you see like when we talk about socializing, you see like club activities, football matches, and everything is just going on smoothly. Everyone is just they are just doing their things with no problem. So I really say I really feel bad at times, but I'm very happy because you don't have some kind of results like many people having uh, the COVID virus, many people not dying. So I think it's just God. It's just God. Me in particular, in Nottingham here, how does it affect me? It affects me so much because first of all, it's because I don't interact, and I'm somebody that I like interacting a lot. It affects me so much. 'Cause- and I also have that feeling at times, like today morning when I was taking a stroll. I was bypassing one lady. The way she gave me space, I didn't feel bad. I looked at myself again. It was like it was like I was carrying on something bad. When I thought of it, I said, "Oh, it's COVID." So that it's really disturbing me. It's really disturbing me. It really makes me at times I feel very lonely. You cannot interact. You cannot go anywhere. But I think I'm becoming used to already.
Okay, that's interesting, and we do understand that it's a very difficult situation. It's a very dire situation, and you've mentioned loneliness. It's one of those things which is current. Or talk about COVID-19 right now, even both in the young and elderly people. Is before COVID-19, loneliness was already an issue, and with COVID-19, I think it has just made the situation worse. And hopefully, we're going to as a country, we're going to get out of this situation soon. So I want to welcome to the call Cuba. He's just joined us and he's just joined us from work. He's actually still on his way home. Cuba, thank you so much for accepting to join us. And he did say he was going to join late. So Cuba, thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Hi, guys.
Okay, okay. Hello.
Yeah.
Please, could you just briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Cuba Farouk, live in Nottingham, under 30, yeah? Is there more you want to know? Is there any other thing?
That's fine. except the others want more information, but that's okay. And thank you again for joining us. So before you came in, we were just discussing about the effects of COVID-19 on us as the under 30 community in Nottingham, and some solutions which we would like to propose, which we would like to see implemented in order to help us cope with the COVID-19 situation as a Cameroonian community, as particular as we are. Yeah, so that's what we're discussing about. And so Kaja just mentioned loneliness as one of the effects of COVID-19. I would like us to go to actually move to discuss in greater depth some of the ways in which COVID-19 has really affected us in every facet of our lives as individuals and as communities. Just before now, we're discussing about conspiracy theories on COVID-19 and how some of those conspiracy theories are affecting our thought processes, and how the fact that there is no corona in Cameroon and we see our loved ones in Cameroon going around their businesses freely is affecting us as the Cameroonian community in Nottingham. So now I want us to go a step further and concentrate on the effects of COVID-19 on us as individuals and as communities. So tell us, how are you being affected by COVID-19, Kriba?
Yes, as you rightly said, right about loneliness. About loneliness, yeah, that's a big thing. It's really affected me. Okay, like right now, I have the option to work from home, but I don't want to work from home. The reason being, if I work from home, that means I'll spend like 7 days of my life just in the house. So the reason why I come to work is just because I want to come somewhere that I'll see people, interact with people, even though it's risky, but thinking of that mental stress that is killing you, like I'm there alone, talking to yourself, things like that, it actually makes me to take the risk, go to work, refuse to work from home. So yeah, so it's risky and still looking at my mental health and looking at my health, it's not really good both ways. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that's it. And another one that I like interacting. So as you said, I like going out, parties, things like that, meeting people, new people. I don't know. First of all, I don't really know that much people in Nottingham. So the few I knew before, I can't even interact with them. Like everyone is just scared. So it's really depressing though. So much depressing.
Okay. Yeah. And so you think going into work is actually helping you cope with the loneliness and helping you avoid depression?
Yeah, mental health wise it's helping me, but health wise now it's another problem because we've had COVID cases at work, so it's another risk. But I prefer I'll go with the mental health for now because that can destroy more than the health. For me, that's what I think. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Thank you. Ruth.
Yeah, I think the loneliness. It's really been a big thing for me because I came back from a study abroad before the second lockdown. And it was really difficult to reconnect with people. A lot of my friends were studying from home, so I didn't really know people in Nottingham. And this is actually the first time that I'm meeting a Cameroonian community. So it's been really difficult, like the stress of final year and then having to do everything online, not being able to study with my friends in person or to do my lab work. A lot of things changed. I had to change my project. I had to change a lot of things. It's really been difficult just studying on my own. I'm not being able to go to lectures. The trip to campus was really useful for me. Just seeing people, even studying in the library. I mean, libraries are still open now, but it's a bit different too. So
okay.
yeah.
As far as online studies are concerned, it's something both lecturers and students are trying to cope with at the moment, because it's a whole new experience for everybody who has to suddenly start giving lectures online and suddenly start attending classes online. What is the most difficult part of studying online for you?
I think that well, you spend a lot of time on a computer, and in some lectures, obviously, you're required to have your video camera on. So I find those lectures really useful because it provides some kind of interactions. You're not the only one in the room. It's like sort of also accountability because there's a lot of distractions. I'm not in a lecture hall where people can look at me. So yeah, I think just being able to focus. I know my attention span has reduced a lot. It's just there's a lot going on. Like I'm studying in my room where I do everything. So it's been hard to disconnect and like shut down. Like my sleep pattern has changed. Like it's just really hard to relax.
Okay. So you feel like you're always on your laptop and it's difficult for you to actually just move away and just have
Yeah,
some you time.
yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So Hannah, do you agree with Cuba that going to work has actually helped your mental health, or would you rather work from home? Do you think this is affecting you? What are some of the other things that you think are affecting you within this COVID-19 period?
So yes, I would agree. I think that in order to maintain mental fortitude, your body, you need to have some sort of exercise, because if you become too sedentary, then also your mind begins to become sedentary. And then, when you're doing the same thing, if you're just, it's almost like being in hospital, but you're not sick, because it's like, why are you in hospital if you're not sick? It doesn't make sense. And it's the same. It's like, why are you staying at home, like when you're okay, when you could be going out, when you could be doing this or doing that. I think because personally, since during the lockdown, like I was still going to work, but I just had reduced hours. So instead of working 5 days a week, I was working 3 days a week at the office, and then 2 days I was working at home, because we sort of at work, we had already established a contingency plan, and we divided our group into a team A and a team B. And so when team A came in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning, and then we would overlap, and they would, if there was anything that needed to be passed over, then they would tell us via the WhatsApp group, so we didn't even need to see them, and they would leave. When they left, they would message us and say, hey, we're leaving. And then we, team B, would show up from Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, and Friday. So there was that division. Therefore, if anything were to come up, some people can still carry on doing work and carry the burden for other people, and the whole team doesn't have to go down. Because I think right from the beginning as a company, we had already talked about things that could possibly change and all of these things. And we were already aware that would probably still have to go into work, just not go every day. And for some things like data analysis, after you've done your experiment, those things can be done from home, because all you're doing is sat in front of your laptop analyzing the data. So if you don't need to be around 4 other people, you can just go home and reduce that interaction. But then over time, it means that you're only seeing the people that you work with, and you're not really interacting with other people. But in many ways, it's still good because you're still interacting with people. I found that at the beginning of lockdown, so during the first lockdown, I used to live with someone else. But then it meant that because she wasn't seeing anyone else other than me, when I got home, she would tell me every single thing that was going wrong in her life. She would want to like talk about every single thing all at once. For me, that was too much, because I had just come home from work and it was a lot of, I had been up and down and stuff. And so I just wanted to, kind of have a quiet evening. But from her point of view, she had not seen anyone the whole day, and I was the only person she could talk to. And so then, she was like, oh, this and that. And I was just like, oh, so there's that aspect, a flip side of it. But then we sort of came to sort of compromise where it was like, okay, when I get back from work, maybe the first half an hour kind of just leave me to be on my own, and then after that we can talk, because like, again, it was too much. And I guess it was just really about communicating. So in many regards, I think for me, like, my mental health has not suffered that much because I've still been working. But then in other aspects, like not really seeing a lot of people, or like seeing your friends, or having trips being cancelled because you can't go back and see your parents, or like just things like that, like it makes a huge difference. But then it just means that this year I've really found like creative ways to keep in touch with people, which means ultimately you're online 24/7 when you didn't want to be online as much. But at the same time, it also like pushes you to make connections that mean things, but then it also exposes those friendships that you might have thought were strong, but are actually not as strong as they were. And then you kind of have to just decide that, okay, everyone's busy, and it sort of helps you prioritize what's important and what's not important. So in a well-rounded kind of way, it's been 50-50, I guess, for me.
Okay, that's quite interesting to hear about you having to have the discussion with your housemate about her giving you space within the first 30 minutes of your return from work. And I'm hoping she did take that in a positive light, and that you were able to schedule your time such that you had time to listen to her. Was that possible, or did it discourage her from talking to you?
No, it did. I think with any friendship, with any relationship, communication is really important. So as long as you say, look, this is how I feel like right now. I think it's about understanding the other person and just being like, because I think, I don't know, I feel like sometimes I don't know, maybe it's a cultural thing. People, a lot of Brits don't voice their concerns and stuff because of that thing called British politeness. And so even if something is wrong, you kind of don't say anything. But at the same time, if you're going to be stuck indoors with one other person, it's important that you both are communicating well and saying, look, this thing that you're doing, like, it might upset me, or can we actually change the way that we interact, and those sorts of things. So I think for everyone who has been living like with a partner, or with like their spouse, or with housemates, kind of realize that there are certain things about the other person that they were doing before that you might not have thought twice about, but now you begin to find that actually that thing irritates you, but it's because you're in this space with them, and it seems like they're kind of like in your own space, and it's not like you can go anywhere, so anything that they do is like amplified. And I think that's the key thing. Everything felt like it was amplified. So like even colleagues at work, they would just be like, yeah, when they got home, like they're like, one of my colleagues, she's married, she was like, yeah, her husband just wanted to talk about everything, and she was just like, I can't right now, and she was like, give me an hour and then we can talk. So I think there's the flip side for those people who were constantly working during lockdown. It was also hard to get home, because then you feel, then everyone at home wants to talk to you because you're the one that's gone out, and so they've been talking to among themselves or to themselves, and now it's like fresh air, and so it's like you become the focus of attention, and everyone's like, oh, and I did this and I did that, and you're just like, I need to tune out from the world. So I think it's important that these hard conversations get had, and you say, look, I'm tired, and just give me an hour, and then after that, I'm all ears, as long as you say so and you don't harbor it, because then it'll cause resentment, and you're already in a closed space. So that is just adding more to the dam and it's going to break, and you're going to break under pressure, and then you end up being mad at the other person, but then there's nobody else to talk to other than the person that you're mad to. Yeah, so it's a vicious cycle. So it's
it continues as a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
So Kajo, let's hear from you. Do you think COVID-19 has had any effect on your job or on you?
Yeah,
Hello?
talking about. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes, I was saying, talking about the effects, COVID-19 has affected me a lot, because just the fact it has affected me both in the negative ways and in the positive ways too. Like being home all the time for someone like me has really made me to like being focused with some particular kind of things, like reading more, going to the internet more for research. That's the positive side of it. Because when I'm home all day and I'm like, boy, when I come back from work, let me start the night shift. I come back after sleeping when I'm off. When I think of the fact that I cannot go anywhere to visit or to just go around, the next thing I do is maybe I pick up a book or I go into the internet things. So I think that's it's a positive something. The lockdown due to the coronavirus has helped to. Then for the negative impact, I would say COVID has given me some limitations to like explore to like explore the country, because I've not really been here for a long time. I believe if there was not a lockdown, there are many places I could have known by now and so forth. So for now, that's just it.
Okay, so if I got you well, you spoke about the fact that lockdown has encouraged you to read more.
Yeah.
Hello?
I was saying, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, lockdown has really
Can
helped.
you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. What I was saying is
Okay.
lockdown has really helped to, it has helped to like improve me on some certain kind of things, which like reading, and I do more of research now than before. Because let me say the time I could use for the leisure time I could use to go for a stroll or to maybe visit someone now, I use that same time to do research, to read more than the way I used to. So that's a positive impact too. But the negative side, lockdown has really is really dealing with my mental health, because staying at home has never been it has never been my thing. I'm that kind of a person that always likes to be out of home. So it has really been hard to cope, though we have no choice. But it has really been hard to cope. To like, it's really very difficult to just be indoors for a very long time. I really thank God that at least my work, I don't work from home. I have to go to work and maybe interact with people. So that's the only living thing.
Okay. Now, guys, let's talk about other things which have been affecting us and communities around us. Let's talk about other issues like housing, support for older people, domestic violence. Is this something that we've experienced, or we know people who've gone through this within our Cameroonian community here in Nottingham? You guys are muted, so I can't hear anything.
No, I don't have anyone related to that.
Okay. So what about, do you know about any disabled people, support for disabled and vulnerable people, digital access, like access to internet,
No.
access to spiritual support, like people who need access to some pastoral support and they've not been able to have it? Or is that a challenge you're facing yourself?
No, I don't know like people of that sort. But about spiritual support, I'm my own pastor.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting. So are you a pastor? Do you own a church?
No, I don't own a church. I don't. I'm not religious. I don't believe in any religion, but I believe in God. I pray to God like every day. Every now and then,
Okay,
yeah, I talk to God, but not through any religion. Like there's no channel for religion. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So what about Ruth? Are there any other, apart from the mental health, loneliness, and the excessive screen time, are there any other challenges that you're facing as an individual, or that you know people within the Cameroonian community in Nottingham who are facing as regards domestic violence, family relationships, um, access to food and access to food, homelessness, support for older people?
No, I don't. I don't know anyone affected. Yeah, by those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you aware of any support services in Nottingham who provide support in case people need all of these? And what I'm going to do is in the chat box, I'm going to put a link. I'm going to put a link to the Mujatu Foundation website, which gives support. There's a form on that website which gives different types of support. If you need support, like if you need food, if you need if you need any support of any type, you fill the form and send over to them, and they're going to be able to get back to you, or those who need the support to be able to give you the support you need. Or you have my number, you could always get back to me if you know anyone who needs support, or if you yourself you need support, such that especially if you need support like in an emergency situation, like within one day, a day or two. Sometimes people need food, sometimes people need they need maybe pastoral support. Just let us know so that we would actually signpost them to the right services.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm studying at the University of Nottingham, and there's actually a lot of support for students, from counseling to just meeting people online to talk, yeah, and make friends. There's a lot of academic support, so and support around COVID-19. So yeah, there is a lot of support actually available for students, and I've used some of these services, so it's been useful.
Okay. Okay, that's great. That's interesting. And thank you for mentioning that. Uh, Hannah, Cuba, and Kajol, are there any support services you like to know about, or which you think you want to signpost other people, like other people who may be in need of these services?
Yeah, so I'm part of Heart Church Nottingham, and
Okay.
Heart Church has a foundation called the Jubilee Foundation, and they help people struggling with debt, help people suffering with poor health. They help people that are disadvantaged by life circumstances, for example, like the COVID now, and people who are, yeah, I guess people who are in a bad situation at the moment. And I know last year, August, they supplied more than 1,000 hampers to different struggling families around the country, around Nottingham, which was amazing. So yeah, I do know that like our church like does a lot of like social action within Nottingham already.
Okay. Thank you very much. I've just written that in the, is Heart H-E-A-R-T, or is it H-A-R-T?
Heart as in heart and then church. So on the
Okay,
website,
as in
there's,
heart. Okay.
yes,
So
there's everything.
could you kindly drop the link to the website here, so
Yeah,
that other people who are on the call could, have the information and share with others in their circles, please?
yeah, of course.
Okay, and while you're doing that, we'll just move on to talk about the different solutions that we need, as a Cameroonian community to be able to overcome the stress, to overcome our mental health, to improve on our mental health, to overcome the loneliness we feel, to overcome the excessive screen time, and the fact that we feel that we cannot have me time away from our work. So what are some of those things which you think can be done to improve on this situation? Because remember, here as Cameroonians, we have our own specificities, and with these solutions will help us for a post-COVID recovery plan, such that we have solutions which are actually tailored to our own communities, which are not a one-size-fits-all, which never work. Because actually one size fits all never work. So what are some of the solutions we want to see?
I mean, right off the bat, I think it's going to be difficult to say, oh, you know, let's not spend as much time on our screens, because everything is online. But I think it's about setting like a schedule, and maybe not, instead of being on there 24 hours, like actually blocking time out and saying, okay, I'll be on from this time to that time, and then before going to bed, you know, I'm literally from 9 o'clock in the evening, and after that I'm not going to be on my screen. But then there are times when, you know, you have work commitments or you're watching a movie and stuff. I think it's about just, you know, really pacing yourself and saying, if you have like a time in place, a schedule in place, that's what I'm trying to say, and then, you know, you can work from this time to this time. And I don't know, libraries are not really open, so again, most people are still going to be reading online and doing other stuff like that. It's really hard to completely eliminate that factor of spending less time on the screen, if you get what I mean. Because even when you're connecting, even if you're just playing a game, you're playing it online, everything is virtual. Maybe it's about just per week, you know, saying, okay, from this hour to this hour, I'm actually not going to be on my screen, and I'm actually going to go on a walk, I'm going to go out, I'm going to call someone, instead of just talking to them on WhatsApp, and actually using your airtime to call someone. You know, maybe that's what we need to do.
Okay. Cuba, what do you think? You're on mute.
You mean about the screen time? Yeah, you mean about the screen time and all that?
Yes, about the screen time and other solutions. What other solutions, apart from screen time, what other solutions do you suggest that could be put in place? What other measures do you think could be put in place within the Cameroonian community to fight loneliness, to improve on people's mental health, to stop their sleep pattern from being overturned? You know, so what are some of the solutions that you think that if we implement them within the Cameroonian community is going to go a long way?
I mean, when it comes to that, I can't really say much because I'm always on the screen. My laptop, my phone, all the time, 24/7. The only time I'm not having my laptop with me is when I'm sleeping or eating. At times, even when I'm eating, it's in front of me, or my phone is in front of me. So I'm so addicted to it. Before the COVID even, that's how I've been living my life. But one thing I'll appreciate is, like, I never knew that there were other Cameroonians in Nottingham, like below 30. I just thought they were the grown-ups, as I usually call them, the grown-ups. I thought that was all because that's the people I've been interacting with. So having these young people here of my age group, I'm so glad. And I think, like, we should have some interactive sessions, like, just with us. Like, I've been out a lot in this Nottingham. I've never really met someone my age. And you know that you can testify, Almighty, yeah. Everywhere I go, like, they're just the grown-ups and things like that. So now seeing, like, my age group are here, and thank you for doing this today because I never knew. Like the guy, John, I think he was my junior back in St. Augustine when we were in Cameroon. So he just told me, so I've met him there. So it's great. I've seen someone I can recognize back in the days. So I think we need to, like the under 28, oh, 20, oh, sorry, 30, I'm so confused, sorry. The under 30, we need to see how we can get, even if it's a group, a WhatsApp group, and after this COVID, 1 or 2 times, let's say go to a park, just sit there around, discuss, share our worries as young people out here, things like that. That will help us a lot. not only interacting with the grown-ups and all that. Like we should think about ourselves too, because at times it gets boring being with them. What they want and what they like, what they talk about, it's not what one of us want to talk about. Okay, so that, yeah.
Thank you. That's exactly why we programmed. That's exactly why we scheduled this call to talk about what the
Yeah.
under 30s want. We don't want
Yeah.
we don't want the under 30s to keep thinking the other grown-ups are dictating to them what they want. And that's
Mm,
why we're having these conversations, and we want all of you to go all out and you know bring those
yeah.
solutions, bring those proposals as to what you want to be done to improve on the difficulties you're facing during this COVID-19 lockdown. And you've mentioned creating a WhatsApp group
Yeah.
for under 30s in Nottingham and getting your friends to join and having
Yeah.
online discussions, which would mean more screen time as well, but which will equally mean that you're improving your mental health and meeting new people.
That's
And
it.
I'm really glad that you've met someone on whom you knew back then and whom you've been able to reconnect with because of this call. I'm happy
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Ruth,
Sorry, can I ask a question?
yes, please,
Because
Hannah.
this involves the Cameroonian society here in Nottingham, like numbers wise, how big is this community? Because I mean, with the only 5 of us here, and I mean, it's 5 is better than, two. So as much as I'm happy to meet other Cameroonians here, like how big is this community here in Nottingham, and how big is the number of like Cameroonians who are under 30?
As far as in absolute numbers and even just in general numbers, I'm not sure. So I can't even begin to estimate, be it under 30s or over 30s or just a general Cameroonian population in Nottingham. But what I do know for sure is we've got a huge Cameroonian community in Nottingham. There is, for example, the Nottingham Ambitious Cameroonians, which is a meeting of Cameroonians in Nottingham. Before the COVID, it used to hold once every month. It still holds online. I think Cuba knows about the Nottingham Ambitious Cameroonians. And Francesca knows about that as well. She's actually a member of that group. It's a huge Cameroonian group. And I'm very aware that there is another Cameroonian meeting in Nottingham. And from the investigations I've done, the other Cameroonian meeting in Nottingham is predominantly French speaking. I think while NAC is predominantly English speaking, but then I'm very aware of those 2 Cameroonian meetings in Nottingham. As far as the under 30 community is concerned, I really don't have an idea. And maybe, like Cuba says, this could be the beginning of a regrouping of under 30 Cameroonians in Nottingham. I hope I've answered your question, Hannah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Ruth, let's listen to your solutions. What do you propose?
Um, yeah, I definitely agree with Cuba's idea of the under 30s meeting up more, because I actually only knew 2 Cameroonians in Nottingham. I didn't know those, the community. um yeah I think for me personally, like, it's been really useful to meet up with Hannah and just walk in the park or go running or shopping together. The physical interaction is really important for me. It'd be nice to meet other people physically, even if we're social distancing. yeah but online works well too.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. And what other support do you think could be given to the Cameroonian community, especially the under 30s, as far as loneliness is concerned, as far as an improvement in mental health is concerned?
I mean, if they're at uni, there's a lot of like group chats and just links for students to meet up online and just talk, or to study together online. Yeah. And the university does like a regular Healthy You campaign, where it's like a week where the different activities for students to get involved and meet new people and participate in something online. So there's a lot to do.
Okay.
Sorry, I have a couple more things to add if Ruthie is done.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ruth. Ruth, are you done?
I am.
Hello, Ruth.
Can you hear me? I'm done.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, Hannah, please, before we come back to you, could we just hear from Kajo first? And please just hold your thoughts. Let's hear from Kajo and we'll come back to you, please.
Yeah,
Kajo?
as for me, what Cuba Farouk just said was just what I had in mind. That's a very, very good idea. Other with the fact that you will create a WhatsApp group too. I think with that we always keep in touch. Then I also propose if we like come to a point where we discover that we've really got that, because I know that there are many Cameroonians here in Nottingham. Just the problem is just that we have not identified them yet. So if we create this group, I think it will really be something nice, because I think we'll come to know people more, people will join. And in the long run, why can't we organize something like let's say a sporting activity once in a while? Everybody here is busy, but if we create a WhatsApp group, everything we can talk out everything there. At some point in time, we can organize a sporting activity. We know something like football and or maybe handball. Those are those are the easiest sports I can talk about. So that's what I can contribute for now.
Okay. Okay, well, that's quite interesting. So, unanimously, you're suggesting that a WhatsApp group should be created, and that will help you discover many more people of your age group, and it's going
Yeah,
to improve on, yeah, it's going to improve on your mental health. You will not feel very lonely, and it's going to enable you discuss issues affecting you on a day-to-day basis.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay, that's interesting and that's well noted. Okay, thank you very much. So we'll come back to Hannah.
Hi, yeah. So because again, like at this particular time, lockdown extends onto like Easter. So sometimes just getting something little like a card, that is handwritten or not even handwritten, because now like instead of like signing a card yourself, you can create e-cards, and just sending someone a card and saying, hey, like I hope that you're okay, and that you're keeping well, and that everything is going. It's just letting people know that you're thinking of them and stuff. Like sometimes that it's just like a little thing, but it goes a huge way. So like little acts of kindness like that, whether it's someone's birthday, like with creating the WhatsApp group, like on whoever's birthday is, like them receiving a card, just things like that, and not just everyone messaging and saying, oh, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. Like that's good and all, but I think making it a bit more personal, more meaningful, goes a long way than just dropping someone a message and saying happy birthday. But again, yeah, it's I guess we'll have to see how that goes. But I think in this lockdown, like just receiving a letter, like over Christmas, receiving a Christmas card, and someone was like, oh, I hope you have a lovely Christmas. That meant a lot, because I knew I wasn't going to see that person, but receiving the letter, seeing their handwriting, I was like, wow, it created like a little glimpse of like hope, that I'm looking forward to when I can see this person again. I think it goes a long way. But yeah. And something
Okay.
else that I was just going to say, so I know at work, during lockdown, especially during the first lockdown and even during the second lockdown, our work would regularly give us like appreciative gifts just to tell us that they appreciated the work that we did. If we are going to do something like that, I guess we'll have to like have some sort of budget, you know, but it doesn't have to be all the time, and it doesn't and when I say all the time, it doesn't have to be like once a month, because that can get a bit extravagant and that can get a bit tedious. But every now and then, like, it'd be nice to just send someone a just because, you know, I'm thinking about you. Like, everyone likes to order stuff online, you know, and when it comes, you know, you feel happy. So just sending someone an appreciative gift, like, hey, you know, I hope all is well, whether it's flowers or whatnot, just something that is personalized to that person so that they appreciate and know that they're valued. I know that it can be really difficult depending on, again, how many people are in the group, but it's just little things like that. Also organizing like online movies, you know, or online games, you know, there are all sorts of things you can do. And sort of like John suggested, maybe when things are looking a bit better, I think a sports event would be really good, because exercise is very important. And, you know, if that's paired with food as well, like, why not? I think that could be something that we can develop.
Okay. That's thank you very much for those points, Hannah. Well noted and very interesting points they are. The card, just receiving a card from someone, you know you not see the person, and you used a very good example of other things online they arrive. There is that usually, I would say, understated excitement you get, despite the fact that you knew that
Exactly.
delivery was arriving. And the sporting activity which could be organized in order to get people on their feet. That's when things get better, and when the lockdown rules and the preventive measures are relaxed a bit. That is something that I have noted as well, because these solutions we are giving are solutions which we as an organization, as Mojato Foundation, as Nottingham Equal, when we do discuss or do discuss with the authorities of the city, and as they're looking for ways of putting together a post-COVID strategy, a post-COVID recovery strategy. These are points that will be brought up, such that we're able to find ways of adapting recovery strategies to different communities within the city, such that we don't end up with people feeling that they were not listened to, or we don't end up with people feeling that solutions which have been proposed to them are not well suited or adapted to their age group or to their communities. So yeah, this is quite interesting, and it's really great. And I do understand that Ruth gets a lot of support from school, from the University of Nottingham. Nottingham Trent University as well gives a lot of support to its students and members of staff. So I think if you're in uni, you're getting a lot of support from uni as well. And if you think that there's anything more that you need, please feel free to talk about it, such that we're able to channel it to the right quarters. So apart from the WhatsApp group, the e-cards we could send to each other, the support from school, the sporting activities, what other means of support do you think that the community can actually get in all areas? Like I mentioned, from family relationships to domestic violence to access to housing and to food, jobs and employment, and all of that, a whole wide range. What other things do you think should be provided to you for your age group, which you think is more suited to your age group than to an older age group as the Cameroonian community in Nottingham? And I'm equally aware that you've mentioned that it would be interesting for you to discover other Cameroonians who are in Nottingham, to find out where they are, who they are, what they do, and get to know them. So in that light, you wouldn't mind if we share the contacts of other Cameroonian groups in Nottingham for you to see if it's a possibility for you to join, to see if it's something that would be of interest to you, to be able to know about those other communities, such that when the lockdown measures do ease off, you might decide whether it's a good idea to actually get to see them or not. Am I correct?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all about networking, and it's really important to have a support system in place, which is why the government said that, if you live on your own, you can create a social bubble with someone else from another household. So Ruth and I are each other's support bubble, and that's great, but again, things are going to eventually become normal. So it's important that you socialize right now so that when things are better, you can meet up physically with people and stuff. And again, socializing is never ever going to look the same, but I think for everyone, everyone will be appreciative of the friends that they've made, the friends that they've kept, and the friends that they're going to like meet up, because some people, in this case, like 3 people on this call, I've never seen you in person, but I'm looking forward to actually seeing you, when things ease off again. But without this online platform, that would have probably never happened. So
Okay, interesting. Thank you. Kajo, any other thing you would like to add?
For now, not really. I will not have anything to add now.
Okay.
But most importantly, I think with the WhatsApp group, everything with the creation of the WhatsApp group, I think the other things may follow up from there, because if we keep in touch, when anything come up, we can maybe pass it through the group.
Would you, in that respect, will you guys want me to share your numbers with each other?
That's fine by me.
Fine.
It's just a number.
Okay, what about you, Hannah and Ruth?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, are you okay for me to share your number with Cuba and Kajol?
Yeah, that's good.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, Hannah, are you okay for me to do that? Okay. Okay, so I see you've nodded your head and you've given me a thumbs. Is that consent?
Yes, yes, because verbal agreement is better.
Okay. Okay, then that's fine. At the end of this call, I'm just going to write down your names and numbers, and I'll just share with you, and anybody could take the lead to create a WhatsApp group and pick it up from there. And I'm happy that you guys have decided that you want to keep the relationship beyond this call and talk with each other and keep abreast of what is happening with each other along the way. So far, let me just do a recap of what we've discussed, and such that it will permit us to say any last words we have and end this call, because I understand that we are already getting tired. So the call has been about discussing the effects of COVID-19 on us as individuals and on our community as the under 30 Cameroonian community in Nottingham. And the call has been recorded all through. And like I said at the beginning, obviously the initial chit chat at the beginning will be edited before it is put on the YouTube channel for Nottingham Equal and Mujatu Foundation. So definitely the initial chit chat will be left out, and then the conversation will be put up there. So this discussion has been initiated by Nottingham Equal and Mujatu Foundation, which are both community-based organizations in Nottingham. And in the course of the discussion, we've discussed about the myth around COVID-19, both in the UK and in Cameroon, how the myth of COVID-19 in Cameroon is affecting us as individuals in Cameroon, how the COVID situation in Cameroon, which is not as dire as it is in the UK, is affecting us back here. It makes us feel homesick. It makes us feel like we're losing our socialization skills, and it makes us worry that despite the fact that it's not the same thing back home, we might eventually get there. So we equally discussed about the fact that people do not want to work from home because of the mental health and loneliness. So they prefer to commit to work despite the risk involved, and despite the fact that every now and then a colleague also gets COVID and has to self-isolate. There's the stress of online studies, which has led to change in the research study because of inaccessibility of labs. The fact that online studies has reduced our attention span, has changed our sleep pattern, and has made us think that we'll spend all our lives studying or all our lives working. And equally, the fact that sometimes we could be overwhelmed by our housemates' excitement to always tell us about their day, given the fact that we are the only ones who've gone out there and want to come back and bring some kind of novelty into their lives for that day. We've spoken about the fact that there's more screen time, but on the positive side, we've spoken about the fact that on the positive side, the lockdown and COVID-19 has encouraged us to read more, to do more of internet research, and this has improved on our knowledge base. It has equally improved on our ability to read and seek information as we continuously look for, scout the internet looking for correct information on COVID-19. So as solutions, we have said as solutions, we want to get a WhatsApp group for the under 30s. We want to be able to exchange e-cards, maybe if we have birthdays, we have any events, any live events coming up. And the fact that the students among us receive a lot of support from school, we equally propose sporting activities when the lockdown conditions ease off a bit in order to help us exercise and get to actually see each other physically. And we are very proud that two of our participants on this discussion have discovered each other. They've known their acquaintances from way back, and this call has given them an opportunity to discover that, they are both in Nottingham, and which will mean that if this WhatsApp group goes ahead and the under 30 community keeps adding other people they know, many more people are going to find out about themselves, and it's going to improve on their networks. So yeah, that is it. I don't know if I've left out anything. Please just indicate if there's anything anybody wants to add. Please let me know. Ruth, Hannah, Cuba, Kajo, the floor is yours. Is there anything I have left out? Is there anything you want to add before we close the call, please?
I said, talking about the conspiracy theory, were you guys scared that the COVID vaccine will turn you guys into zombies or what?
Sorry?
I said, talking about the conspiracy theories, yeah? Were you guys
Yeah.
scared that like the COVID vaccine will turn you guys into zombies?
Not exactly. We had a discussion around the myths people have about COVID-19. What is actually a reality or a myth? So we had examples of people saying, okay, people thinking COVID-19 actually does not exist. It's just a whole setup, and the fact that even people home think COVID-19 doesn't exist. And again, the context back home and the context in the UK are two different contexts. Yet the effects that we have, the effects their thoughts have on us cannot be underestimated. Hannah, for example, said, when she looks at people back home and they're in an event and they're all choked up like sardine, the first thing she's asking is, oh, why are their face masks? The next thing is, oh, she's worried that they're going to get infected. And then when she thinks about the fact that, it's not as bad back home as it is in the UK, she feels homesick, and as well as it keeps her worried. Yeah. We didn't really dwell on the vaccine, although we did mention the fact that, people go to the extent of thinking that the vaccine will change their sex and all of that. But again, it made us think of the importance of us as pro-vaxxers re-strategizing the communication around the importance of vaccines.
Yeah, as for me, when it comes to the vaccine, I would not like to take the vaccine, not because it will turn me into a zombie or change my sex. It's just because, it never went through the 10 years of clinical trial. It never went through the stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and everything. But apart from that, the vaccine is good. I can't be scared that the vaccine will turn me into something. Why? Because the big pharma, the pharmaceutical company, they're the one producing everything we're having in terms of medicine. So why would I be scared? If they want to kill me, why won't they kill me with Quatem or ibuprofen, something like that? So it's not true COVID vaccine that they're going to kill me. So it's just a myth to discredit things. I know the internet is so everywhere now. Like everyone has access to the internet, so everyone can just write rubbish, and from there it starts going viral. So for the vaccine, it's good for those that want to take it, but for me, I don't want to take it, not because I'm scared that you turn me into something else, but just because I don't know what can happen. Yeah.
Hannah, I'm going to leave you to talk. That's very interesting, Cuba. Hannah, I'm going to leave you to talk about the clinical trial phases of the vaccine before it gets accepted. Would you like to talk about that?
That'd be great.
You're on mute.
So funnily enough, like I guess every time I've been in a taxi so far during this lockdown, and because I work at BioCity in town, so the driver will ask me, "Oh, so are you working on the vaccine?" And I'm like, "No, just because I work in a research lab doesn't mean that everybody is working on that vaccine." Just to clarify, but I mean, Cuba makes a fair point that normally in the process of drug discovery, it takes a number of years to, for things to go through the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, like clinical trials. But in this case, they actually had to put a lot of resources and energy into making sure that they accelerated and kind of like shifted it from 10 months to a year. And yes, I can see that a lot of people are a bit faced and spooked that, okay, is this actually a good vaccine and that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, it's going to do the job. And it's good that we have a vaccine, because when you look at the number of people who are dying, it makes sense that they would try to speed up that process and shorten the amount of time. At the end of the day, we'll just have to wait and see what the summer brings, because everybody's immunity is different. Everybody's body is going to react differently. There were cases in Norway, like a lot of people over the age of 70 got the vaccine, and suspiciously, quite a number of them passed away. And so people were thinking, oh, am I going to die if I have this vaccine? Again, that it was just, we don't know. Scientists are still trying to investigate what really happened. Also, they were over 70, so on top of old age, they're already frail. Their immune systems are not as active as in younger people. So it could have been the fact that old age on top of having the vaccine, so it kind of just really made their immune system very sensitive and overwhelmed. We have no idea. So in this kind of case, like I personally, I think I'm going to take the vaccine, just because if I'm going to be traveling to see my loved ones, if I'm going to be traveling around the country, if I'm going to be going anywhere, it will get to a stage where it will be like, you can't, just like when you go to Cameroon, they expect you to have the yellow fever vaccine. In the same way, when you're going to go to certain places, you'll be expected to have the vaccine, and so it means that you'll be more or less like, saying, oh, okay, I'm not going to go there and stuff because I don't have the vaccine or whatnot. I think it's also down to personal discretion. So, Cuba saying he's not going to take it, fair enough for him. But I think because it's the profession that I work in, and sort of saying that, look, there's nothing, I mean, obviously, even when you say there's nothing to be worried about, that, AstraZeneca, what is the other name? Pfizer, like they're producing the vaccine and stuff. And, like he said, a lot of the medicine that we use now have been produced by them. So why wouldn't you trust them now with the vaccines that they're making? But yeah, so that's just, I think it's really important for those of us who are actually working in those areas to be like, we'll take it just to show people that it's okay, and fair enough, there'll be side effects like with anything, but for people to say that, I think it's more or less to put the conspiracy theories to bed. and so that people don't think, oh, it's going to change my sex or, you know, stuff. I mean, obviously there are isolated cases where people take it and they have a really bad reaction or they pass away. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but, you know, I think that scientists are doing what they can to make sure that the vaccine is viable. But then again, because of mutations and because the virus is changing and the infection rates are changing as well, so we really don't know how it's going to work. But I think we have to sort of get to a stage where most of the general public are acceptable and want to take the vaccine. Because then again, it's like, why did they spend all that money and create something that's going to help people if no one's going to use it? You know, we're not going to have 10 years from now to survive it to then say, yes, let's take the vaccine. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you make a fair point. You and Cuba actually make a fair point. And like you say, it comes down to personal conviction. Personally, I am going to take the vaccine. I'm going to take the vaccine because I think that it's vaccines are one of those things after safe drinking water, which have gone a long way to improve on individual and population level health. And despite the fact that this vaccine has been fast-tracked, I think it's because of the emergency situation in which we found ourselves, where more than half of the world is in a very difficult situation, and we couldn't wait for 10 years because we needed to make a vaccine and follow the normal prolonged steps, and that's why there are emergency situations. So I do think that if I were given the opportunity, or whenever I have the opportunity, I'm going to take the vaccine. But again, it comes down to personal discretion for us to be able to take the vaccines. And as far as the deaths are concerned, it's important that that researchers are able to tell us exactly why the people over 70 who took the vaccine died. Were there other predisposing conditions of death they had, or was it just as an effect of the vaccine that they died? These are some of the things you are supposed to look at and able to and communicate clearly in order to reduce the fear which people have of taking the vaccine. Definitely, like you say, we have different immunities and we're going to react differently to different drugs. And so we may find ourselves reacting differently to the vaccine. So yeah, it's really a personal thing. So yeah. Ruth, do you think you're going to take the vaccine?
I think I will. Probably on the especially on the travel area. I love to travel, and I plan to continue traveling after COVID-19 is over. So I'm not gonna let not taking the vaccine stop me. But yeah, I've taken many vaccines in my life. I don't see why I shouldn't take COVID-19 vaccine now. Yes, I do understand it's a different type of vaccine, but I do think that it was fast track also because the funding was available. Sometimes it takes ages to get enough funding to do research for vaccines, so it ends up being a really long process. But because of the nature of the pandemic, it was fast tracked because the resources were available. So yeah, unless I get a conviction, from God or something that I shouldn't take the vaccine, I think I would take it if I get the opportunity.
Okay. Wow. Kaja, what about you? Do you think you're going to take the vaccine? Thank you, Ruth. Hello, Kaja.
Yeah, I think if I'm opportune to have the COVID vaccine, I will. I will. I don't see anything to be scared of. I think things they've been talking about this COVID vaccine. I've been following up the issue in the news, and I think the vaccine is something that, like Ruth said, we have been taking so many vaccines, so I don't think this one really has any disadvantage, so long as they have said it's a remedy to, like, although they have not proved it to be 100% yet, but I think it's really effective. it's really effective somehow. So I think if I have the opportunity, why wouldn't I take it? I will take it just to make sure that I'm fine.
Okay, that's quite interesting. Cuba will still respect your decision to be reticent about taking the vaccine, but hopefully with time you're going to change your mind. You're going to understand the circumstances surrounding a fast-tracked vaccine, and you'll change your mind. You're
Yeah,
muted.
yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. But if I have to travel, like if they say I need it to travel, well, I'll get it, but not like I love getting it, but I'll have to get it to travel. So one way or the other, I might still get it in some few years to come. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's just, in this case, as much as it's subjective, I think it's also about being conscientious about other people, especially the older generation, the older community, because you might be okay. Like honestly, I know I've known someone who is younger than me who had COVID, and now they're fine 100%. Whereas that couldn't have been the case for someone who was like 60 or above. But you, as a younger person, you're a carrier, and then you're making that person's immune system, you're putting them at risk. And I think that's the problem, putting other people at risk. So if we can protect ourselves but indirectly protecting other people around us, I think that's what we should be aiming to do. Because a lot of people are saying, why should I take the vaccine? I don't know what it's going to do to me. It's like, yeah, I get that, there's a lot of uncertainty because we won't know until we take it. But I think it's in general to protect other people around us. And again, it's the same thing with like socially distancing ourselves, when we go to supermarkets and stuff like that. I think if everybody was a little bit more conscientious, then the number of cases wouldn't be as high. You go into supermarkets, some people are not even wearing masks, and you're just like, why are you even here? Like, I get that you have stuff to buy, but I mean, really, but because the security guards and the cashiers don't have that power to tell them you're not wearing a mask, so you can't come in, unless of course they're the police. So then it makes things a bit more complicated. But yeah, I think though, when we begin to see, we see it as more as an altruistic act of compassion, and you're trying to make everybody else's life better, maybe in that regard people will be more open to wanting to take the vaccine. But again, I think ultimately it boils down to the scientists perfectly and just enunciating and just explaining everything that's happening as it's happening. And I think so far they've done a really good job of saying, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, this is coming up. But then, not just focusing on the good things, but then when things happen, mishaps happen, and saying, okay, we're not really sure, but we're looking into it. And once we find out what's happening, we're going to let you know. But honestly, the thing about science is sometimes it's very difficult to stand and say things are black and white, because sometimes, there are a lot of other factors that are in the equation. So, you don't ever want to stand and say, yes, this is the gospel truth, and that's what it is, because anything can change. I think that's why even with especially with mishaps, they have to be very careful that they have sufficient evidence, and then they can say, well, we think it's this. And even then they'll say, we think it's this. They won't say it is this or it's that. That's all I'm saying. So I think it's for us just to bear that in mind as well when we're looking at what Merck, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, all these pharmaceutical companies are presenting to us.
Yeah, definitely. We need to protect ourselves and protect those around us. But again, there are a lot of gray areas because
Yeah.
we cannot be thinking of protecting others when we think the vaccine will not even protect us. So yeah, it's a bit tricky, but I do agree with you. You make a very fair point there about being altruistic and thinking about other people around us as well. But again, to each their own. And
Yeah.
given the fact that the length of immunity of the vaccine is not yet known even, and it brings to question whether the the expenditure on it is actually worth the while.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like all of us have said, it's better to get it and see what happens than not to get it at all, especially as the virus keeps mutating.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, thank you so much for joining us on this conversation this evening. Thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Cuba. Thank you, Kajo. Thank you so much for your time. And I know we've basically hijacked your evening, but it was worth the while. Hope you did enjoy the conversation like I did. It's been amazing talking with all of you on the call. And like we agreed, I'm going to share your contacts, and from there you can actually create a WhatsApp group and go on to add under other Cameroonian under 30s into the WhatsApp group. Like I said, there is the Nottingham Ambitious Cameroonian community, which is existing. It's a huge Cameroonian community. It's made up of, mostly over 30s. It's predominantly over 30s. If you're interested, I could equally get you hooked to that group as well. So you have my number. If you inbox me, I'm going to send you the contact for the person who can enable you to join the group. And we've got a WhatsApp group as well. We've got monthly online meetings, which you may want to join even as a guest while trying to make up your mind as to whether to join us or not. So that's completely up to you. And thank you so much for the suggestions you've given in order to improve on all the challenges that you're undergoing within the COVID-19 period. And my sincere hope and prayer is that sooner or later, we're going to find a way out of these strange times, and that all of us are going to find the strength individually and as a community to overcome whatever challenges we're undergoing, especially the loneliness, the depression, the mental health issues, and all the other issues that come along. So thank you so much, and hope we're going to have a nice evening. So this video, which is being recorded, it will be edited and put up, and once it is put up on a YouTube channel, I'm going to share the link with you guys. Okay, thank you so much, and
Thank you.
Bye.
thank
Hello.
you. Bye.
Bye. Thank
Hello.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.